What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla SPY, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down why lots of Chinese EVs and Tesla sold off very hard after BYD made a big announcement, not to mention some major catalysts coming out for tomorrow as we have Jerome Powell testifying again. We have CPI data coming out and a possible announcement by Donald Trump that could shake the markets. So I'll talk about what all this news is going to cause, make it all very simple to understand, and then I will talk about the charts after that. But just know that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. Deposit $100 and you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposits $2,000 and you're guaranteed 30. And the offer ends at the end of March, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, as far as the market is going, I just want to mention that NIO saw a bit of a sell-off, down 6.7%. Li Auto sold off, Tesla sold off. We saw a big sell-off for many different EVs. The result of this happened because of some news that came out. So I'm going to talk about what that news was first. There's some news that came out that BYD has revealed its plan to introduce it's known as D-Pilot, which is an assisted driving system developed in collaboration with DeepSeek. The advanced driving technology is going to be available across their lineup, including a model price of about $9,555. On top of this, their AI intelligence models will power more advanced versions of the Deep Pilot system. And this is going to be possibly a competitor of many of these other driver assistance technologies. So they're trying to, once again, include driving assistance, which could help boost their sales. And it's going to, once again, ensure more safety features. So as a result of this, stocks like NIO got some downgrades. We saw many different analysts give them $7 ratings. Now they're saying NIO is going to run to about $4.70. Others out there are a little bit skeptical and very, very nervous about this. However, for others out there, we're seeing a little bit of fear that's kind of like being incited by this, especially with the competition that's coming out. So that's very, very important to note. So with that being said, this may cause more and more volatility. We also saw BYD sales increase for the month of January, at least relative to what we saw before. It's being compared to Tesla. Tesla did see a bit of a decrease, but you have to remember that Tesla's in a different story. Tesla is different from BYD. It does not make sense to compare them, and then Tesla's still waiting for the Model Y refresh. Once the refresh comes out, it could change things a lot, so just give it some time. Anyways, looking at some news, okay? Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday. We have two big things coming out. Number one, we have the CPI data report coming out. For core CPI, month over month, we're expecting 0.3%, a slight increase compared to before. We're expecting core year over year to be about the same. Same thing with month over month for all items CPI to be at 0.3 to 0.2%. And we're expecting CPI to be at 2.9%, the same as before. So as we're expecting basically the same numbers as before, no change in CPI. That's what the market is anticipating. Right now, the trend suggests that there is a bit of a decrease in core, but all item CPI is on a bit of an uptrend. So we'll see if that ends up continuing or not. Not the best so far, at least for the Fed. I also want to note that crude, it did come down just a tiny bit, almost the same. It went down just a teeny tiny bit, at least for the month of February. So we'll see if we saw the same thing going on. I'm sorry, for the month of January, it went up just a little bit. So we'll see how that affects CPI and factors like that. So it could go either way. We'll have to see about that. I also want to mention that we had Jerome Powell giving a speech and he testified in front of Congress. So when he was in front of the Senate, he was questioned a lot. When John Kennedy asked him about the soft landing and factors like that, Jerome Powell continued to push that narrative, which helped the market push temporarily. But then when he was asked about tariffs, we saw the market dip and it was just kind of trading sideways. So it didn't really get affected too much because he was trying to not really answer too many questions. He was trying to be very, very vague, and he was very careful with what he was going to be saying. So just keep that in mind. That's what Jerome Powell has been doing. So those are the main factors for tomorrow. Again, Jerome Powell is going to be testifying in front of the House of Representatives tomorrow at 10 a.m. So make sure you guys are ready for that. We have CPI, then Jerome Powell's testimony has two big factors. Watch that very, very carefully, at least for the markets. There is one more factor that's going to be Donald Trump. He said on Monday that he's going to be announcing new tariffs on Tuesday or Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. He did not announce them yet. So there's a possibility tomorrow he might be announcing them. I don't know for sure. If he does, this could cause a big move. So we'll see if the market dips or not. Get ready for a very, very big surge in volatility just to be safe. On top of this, It's also worth knowing that Supermicro and Upstart had their earnings. Supermicro did relatively well, beating on expectations. We're looking for a nice amount of growth overall. They did mention that I not only beat on earnings, but they had strong guidance. Not too bad overall. We're going to be looking for a good growth for them. That's why the share price is in the green. UPS also was doing really, really well. Sorry, UPST Upstart, excuse me, guys. This is doing relatively well. They had pretty decent guidance overall, beating expectations. And we're going to be looking to see another increase overall. So this is why the share price is green. So good job by them at least to start things off. We'll have to see how things continue at least moving forward. So that's it for the news. There's three factors: CPI, Jerome Powell, which might not be that big of a factor because when he's questioned, he just tends to avoid questions. And then Donald Trump announcing tariffs could be another big factor. So we'll see what that leads to. With the BYD news, NIO did come down. We're going to be watching to see if it could base at 4 flat. So I do anticipate a little bit of a rebound here. I might rebound to where this imbalance is. Then we'll see if we come back down to retest this $4 area. We look bearish as we're continually making lower highs. So, for example, we formed a distributive structure here, rejected, did the same thing here, then we rejected. So there's going to be a risk of us retesting 4. We'll see if that holds or not. If it doesn't, we could be dipping lower. So just keep that in mind. For SPY, technically, SPY is looking a little bit more bullish because we're holding support. If you draw a trend line like this, for example, we were making like lower highs. We're technically very close to this resistance right over here, super, super close. We'll have to see if SPY can break through this or not. But overall, I just want to say that we're doing a good job. Now, there is a gap to fill below, but it depends on CPI. If we get a good CPI, we could be looking for a push towards 608. But remember that every time we've hit, 608 to 610, we have rejected. If we end up losing 603, we could be dipping back down to fill that gap at 600. We could go either way from this point. So I'm going to be very, very open-minded. There is the possibility of a slanted head and shoulders, but I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll have to see about that. Looking at our charts, we are favoring the bulls a little bit more. So we'll see if we get a break here or a rejection. I'm still waiting to see just to be very, very safe. On the QQQ, we're at resistance at that 530 area. A good CPI launches this up to about 533. If not, we could be dipping. Even if we do launch higher and we see this thing break out off this like inverse head and shoulders, and if this does try to push back up to like 535, just be careful because Donald Trump might announce tariffs later, and that could still cause a dip later on. So we'll see just to be safe. On the Russell 2000, we have kind of like an inverse head and shoulders. If we break past the 227, we're looking for an attempt for 230. If we lose support right here at 225, we're looking for a dip back down. I think that we're in a very, very nice range right now for the Russell. We are looking a little bit weaker. We might try to rebound tomorrow for like 227, but it all depends on CPI. ES is right at resistance right here, okay? So we're at the trend line of resistance. We haven't broken it yet. We haven't rejected. We're stuck here. Will CPI pump this to break out and make a new high? If we do break through this, I'd expect 61.25 or above. Or do we get a rejection here? Do we end up getting a huge rejection after CPI comes out? Right now, it looks like it wants to push higher like this. But even if we do push higher, the question is if Trump announces the tariffs, will we make a move back down? So yes, we favor upside a little bit more now that we held up. And because of the fact that Jerome Powell pumped the markets a little bit. But please keep in mind that things could change depending on what Donald Trump announces. We're going to be waiting to see what happens as time goes on. So with CPI, technically, we are looking a little bit more bullish, a little bit more, but this all depends on what ends up happening later on, and we'll see how it goes just to be safe. We're at resistance on NQ. It's trying to push up to about 21,900. There's a very tough resistance right here between 21,900 and 22,000. If we end up losing 21,600, we could be dipping, but we're kind of stuck in this range, so give it some time. For Bitcoin, we're on a bit of a downtrend here. We have to see if we end up breaking past 97,000 or not. We could be dipping closer to about 94,000, so give this some time. And be very, very mindful at least as time goes on. For Nvda, we have a very, very big bullish divergence. It has a gap to fill. So if this launches after CPI comes out, I want to see it break 135 to push to fill the gap towards the 140s. If we lose 128, we're looking for a dip back down. It has potential. It's very, very flat right now, so it's indecisive. And we'll have to see how things go. Will CPI launches higher? Will we launch higher initially? But then if Trump announces his tariffs, things could change. We're just waiting, guys. The market's playing a waiting game. Tesla is very bearish. Big rejection. No sign of a bounce yet. I do think there's always the possibility of us trying to push when we open. That's what Tesla did again. We pushed a little bit, then we rejected. Might push a little bit tomorrow morning back towards like the low 330s. Then if we reject again, we're looking for this gap fill all the way down to about 322. And if watch 320, if we don't hold that, there's going to be a risk of us coming down to fill these next gaps. I think 300 flat would be our next target if we lose 322. So it's looking a bit more bearish. We have to try to hold this 200 EMA at 299. If we don't, there's a big gap to fill down to 250. So could go either way. Unfortunately, Tesla's filling a lot of these gaps. We have to be very, very careful nonetheless. For Apple, Apple's looking bullish. If we could break past 235, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 240. If we lose 226, we're looking for a dip back down. I'm liking this setup right now. When you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're just in a range, right? We tend to reject off 236 and we tend to bounce off 226. So we'll see if we break out here. It is looking a little bit like it wants to push, but we'll see depending on CPI. For a few more, we have Coinbase. Coinbase is looking a little bit more bearish. We could be dipping to about 262. If that doesn't hold, that could be dipping a bit more. Amazon's very flat right now. If it breaks 233, we're looking for an attempt to get up to 237. If we reject, we're looking for a dip. We're in the middle right now. We're trying to rebound while we're technically on a slight downtrend. But if we break 233, I'm looking for an attempt for 236 or above. So we'll see if we break resistance. It looks like it wants to push higher, but we'll see just to be safe. Meta remains bullish. We're holding support as long as we don't lose 712. This is favoring the 720s. Microsoft could be pushing for 413, and then Google might be trying to rebound for 189. So market looks a little bit more bullish, but even if we do get a pump in CPI, and we'll have to see about that, but even if that does happen, it would be awesome, and it would be very, very great to see a move to the upside. But you have to keep in mind that the market's near some tough resistance. And then another big factor is going to be Donald Trump. What will Donald Trump say about these tariffs? Which countries will be involved? We're waiting. He said he was going to make the announcements either today or tomorrow. So if he announces tariffs on Japan or South Korea or the EU, we'll have to wait and see. The EU said that if Donald Trump announces tariffs, if he imposes more tariffs on them, they're going to retaliate. So we'll have to wait and see, guys. It's going to be a very, very big catalyst. So be patient. Just know that for now, the charts look a bit more bullish. Okay, CPI might push us. We'll see about that. And even if it does, be careful because Donald Trump may make his announcement at any given moment. And once he makes that announcement, it could shake the markets. So it's a very, very tricky market right now. I just want to give you guys a warning about it. And I'm just here to give you guys as much transparency as possible. As far as NIO goes, I'm looking for a small rebound. Sorry, I have NIO's chart right over here. Might be a small rebound back up to where this imbalance is around 4.13. Then if we reject and retest 4, we'll have to see if that holds. If it doesn't, we could be tipping lower. So we'll see about that. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you for listening and peace out.